Okay, so every day I turn on the computer and I go to Google News and I see what's going on in the world. And something I learned from my stepfather, who was a German Jew who escaped Nazi Germany in 1938 with his family and moved to London and lived through the U-2 bombings, the V-2 bombings in London as a high school student, was to prize the British news. There were, kind of like the New York Times used to say, all the news that's fit to print. The British were pretty good about world news. They had been a world empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire. So they had holdings all over the world and they were able to give news, even news that were against the empire. So I think that's like a really good thing. And so today I went on and I saw different news that caught my eye, like this Luigi Mangione. He's the guy in New York, I think, that shot the United Healthcare CEO. This kid Luigi was in a lot of pain, and they were denying him service, and he just took it out on the CO. I mean, it's insane. It's insane what's happening in the U.S. in terms of people killing each other. And so they, the state had two charges against him for terrorism as a terrorist, which he wasn't. He was just on a personal vendetta. So the judge threw those out. But on the other hand, so he ruled for him in that way, but he ruled against him in terms of the double jeopardy. His lawyers were trying to say, well, you can't try him for the same thing twice. And the judge said, no, you can. He said, because there's the federal government, and that's a sovereign nation. And then there's a state. I guess, I don't know if it happened in New York, state of New York. That's another sovereign nation. And that's something that people forget. It's like the globalists would like to have us forget that we're actually composed of sovereign states, each one a sovereign nation. That's why there's some rules that collide in America, like pot, for example. In some states it's legal, but with the federal government it's illegal. And that's very confusing to have two sovereign states rule over you at the same time with different rules. And that's because this the US, the federal government is something superimposed over the state government. And the federal government actually is where all your taxes go to, like, you know, Iraq, Iran wars, all these really crazy things. And your state taxes are the ones that go to, like, paving your roads and, helping people, so there's something to be looked at over there. There's a reason we became uh, the US of A, all the states united, and that was to fight the British. Well, that happened a while back, and they never gave back the reins to the states, and that's something to look at. So I like the judge's uh, reasoning, and it brings up the whole affair about states being a sovereign nation. So he calls on that in order to keep the double jeopardy against Mangione. And I think that's correct. I think the courts, by the way, are America's saving grace. Because I'm from Argentina, and the Argentine judicial system is completely corrupt from the top down. It's been bought out by this guy Macri pretty much, and they just screw over people right and left. I've gotten screwed over in Argentina. So then another one is, you know, this thing about, you know, Charlie Kirk killing. Obviously, I'm against the Charlie Kirk killing. I mean, here's a kid who's, you know, going around and engaging young people in a discussion, and that's a good thing. You know, whether you agree with them or not, discussion is good, and communication is paramount to a free society. So here's this kid, Charlie Kirk, he gets killed by somebody who disagrees with him. And now they want to silence anybody that says anything critical about this kid when he himself uh, said that actually, whichever side of the aisle you're on, you should have a right to express it, that you want to keep a free society. And I think that's the thing that riled me up the most today, that made me want to start, besides the idea of monetizing, and besides wanting to honor my stepfather, who got me going about the news when I was young, is what's happening right now. I mean, I voted for Trump, admittedly, and I did it because I was up to here with the censorship I was seeing in the press at every level, like in Facebook. If you posted something against the COVID vaccines, there was something that came up that said that they couldn't, there was something wrong. You couldn't post it. And this is censorship, and that's un-American, but it's very fascist censorship. That's what Hitler did. They had a great minister of propaganda, Goebbels, and they had all these movies, and they all looked so orderly and so together. But if you were part of the White Rose resistance, which were these students that spoke out against the regime and passed out flyers against the regime, you were dead. It wasn't like even here where maybe you get fired. You were dead. So I don't like things slipping in that direction. I find that's an assault on the citizenry. Like I found the whole COVID narrative an assault on the citizenry. And these things I don't like. And I'll tell you, what keeps a nation free is us standing up for freedom, calling people on things that are unconstitutional, that are immoral, that are just wrong. You know, when the people speak, the powers have to listen because the people are the base of the power. And they'd like us to forget that. So you have to remember that. You have to know that in your core. You have to know who you are and what you're doing here. And so here's Pam Bondi, who's, really kind of, mm, you know, being a little bit obvious in her support of the administration, when actually, when she was questioned, she said that she would never compromise, her standards. So here she is, and she wants to target anyone who engages in hate speech. Whereas Charlie Kirk said that there is no hate speech in America, that it's not a legal term, and that, you know, we should respect free speech. So this kind of got me riled up enough today to want to start something new where, you know, people are reminded about what's true and what isn't true. And I think it really helps. It helps me when people do that. It helped me that my stepfather had some clarity in his coverage of the news. I grew up in Boston during the Vietnam War, and I knew when McNamara was lying about Viet Cong numbers dying, about operations like the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, and later on he admitted to it. So, you know, they have this program in Argentina called Te toman por boludo, and it's basically means they think you're an idiot, and it's a little crasser than that, but that's a good translation. So, you know, I've had enough with the news, just trying to pull the wool over your eyes and just make their propaganda. So, I mean, here you see, I don't know what cost him to want to sue them for $15 billion, but you know, he seems to deal with things that way. And a lot of bad things were really done against Trump. The whole Russiagate BS and a lot of things, I mean, that were done against him, I completely disagree with. So just remember, two wrongs don't make a right. And, we need transparency and we need honesty in politics. And that's why I'm doing this. So I think I'm going to sign off now. I'm hoping that you enjoyed your first exposure to my daily news interpretation. How do I stop this thing?